Good evening and welcome to SportsZone. I'm your host, Makenzie Freeman, joined by Jalen Alexander and Isaiah Ortiz as we discuss the Dallas Cowboys, who took a trip to Arizona and unfortunately lost 28-16 against a team that, frankly, I thought they were going to win. Guys, I think we should address the elephant in the room here first. The Cardinals played better than expected. Jalen, what did you think about the Cardinals' performance?
Honestly, I think the Cardinals are a better team than we thought. I mean, they were expected to be winless, right? But they went out in Arizona playing like there was nothing to play for. They went out and beat the Cowboys, and they just honestly really looked good. They had 200 yards rushing. James Conner, he's top 3 in rushing. It's just crazy. So I think that they just played a really good game, and overall good win for the Cardinals.
Yeah, give credit to Jonathan Gannon and how we prepared this team for this week, coming off of 2 games where they blew, big leads to really good teams. Really big win for Jonathan Gannon, of course, coming off of his tenure with the Eagles, playing the Cowboys. This game meant a lot to him. So just big props to the Cardinals for better than we gave him credit for.
Yeah, I think we also have to give credit to Josh Dobbs. He had a good performance as, the interim QB1 as Kyler Murray's out. How did y'all feel about his performance?
Honestly, Josh Dobbs started off the game going crazy with a 50-yard run. And honestly, that kind of set the tone.
I think that's where the game was over.
Exactly. And honestly, he just kind of set the tone on third downs too. Last week, the Cardinals were 1 for 10 on third down conversions. This week, they changed it to 5 through 10. They were 50% this past week. That's what really set the tone for the game.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people forget about Josh Dobbs is he's had a good performance against the Cowboys before last year on Thursday Night Football. The biggest difference is he's not playing with a bunch of practice squad guys. He's playing with real NFL players, some real stars in the field. So you come in with one of the smarter quarterbacks in the league, and really a game where it doesn't matter. You're just playing free football, and it's a really great game for him. I'm happy for Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, happy for Josh Dobbs, and good job by the Cardinals organization as a whole. I'm going to flip things over to the Cowboys side. Guys, what went wrong this game for the Cowboys? Jalen, I'll start with you.
I think most definitely it was discipline and penalties. They had about 13 penalties that sent them back 107 yards. And even whenever Kamonte Turpin took back a punt, 51 yards, and it got called back for a holding. And that just shouldn't happen. It brought them back to their 13-yard line. That just shouldn't happen in a game.
Right. Isaiah, your thoughts?
Yeah, you got to look anywhere at the run defense. I mean, to me, it was the biggest problem. Out of a whole lot of things that went wrong, that was the biggest problem. Really on the outside running concepts, the zone runs as well. Nobody on the outside edges. They were running towards Micah Parsons and away from their best run defender and DeMarcus Lawrence. And then the linebackers, there was nobody to fill those gaps where they needed to be filled right at the line of scrimmage. Leighton Vander Esch, Damone Clark had to be better in that area.
Yeah, I think both the offense and the defense had places where they struggled. But one thing that got to me was the red zone. I mean, you look at them and they go 1 for 5. That's just in a game where you're playing against a team like the Cardinals who are ready for this game. I don't think you can do that. Do y'all think that's directly related to the issues with the injuries with the linemen?
Yes, I do. And there's a trend. For each game the Cowboys have played, in week 1, they were 3 and 5 in the red zone, 3 touchdowns, no Tyler Smith. In week 2, they were 2 of 6 in the red zone, no Tyler Smith and no Tyron Smith. This past week, they were 1 of 5 in the red zone, but they had 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen out, and Zach Martin, Tyler Biadasz, and Tyler Smith. So I think really the run zone not being there, and with no threat at the run, they were really great against the pass and the play action, which the Cowboys have always been really good at under Dak Prescott. It really just set a whole lot of things off for the Cowboys offense.
Exactly. He's exactly right. It all starts in the trenches, right? And the Cowboys being 1 for 5 in the red zone is just unacceptable to do. And there's just too much talent on that offense for them to be able to go out there and just not score at will. It's not 2014 where they can just toss it up to Dez Bryant and it's a touchdown every time.
Yeah, I definitely miss those days. I know that they faced a loss, but what's one thing that the Cowboys did well? Isaiah, I'll start with you.
I really like how they got Hunter Lepke involved, the fullback, who really is a nice piece to the Cowboys offense. He only had 2 touches, but they were 2 pretty good touches. I'd like to see that more, even with the tight end struggling a little bit. It's really going to add a nice dynamic. And then Michael Gallup also looking really good as well. Had a nice deep ball completion, had some nice run after the catch opportunities. I think he looks healthy, and it's going to be great moving forward for the Cowboys.
Honestly, I feel the same way about Michael Gallup, and I just feel like they need to keep the same mentality going forward. It's only been 3 games.
Right.
So I think if they just keep the same mentality going forward, don't let this game burn down the rest of the season for them.
And then very quickly, who are y'all's MVPs of the game? Jalen, I'll start with you.
I'm going to go with Josh Dobbs, man. He went out there and just completely dominated, so smart on the field, and honestly just took over the game and managed it.
Yeah.
And then Isaiah?
I'm going to go with the Cardinals' offensive line. They really showed out, especially that left side led by Paris Johnson, a young rookie going up against Micah Parsons in the run game. He did a very nice job setting the edge for the Cardinals' offensive line.
Just as the Cowboys cool down, we're going to heat up. So stay tuned as we discuss our hottest sports takes.
All right, look up here. 1, 2, 3.
Mom, Dad, I got it. You're right, Mom. I have.
Has the weight of stress and anxiety ever felt too heavy to overcome? Wish there was a safe place to confide in? Wish granted. At UNT, we offer counseling and testing services to students located on the 3rd floor of Chestnut Hall. UNT, we're here for you.
Good evening and welcome back to SportsZone. I'm joined by Simeon Formal and Nathan Wagner as we do everyone's favorite segment, the Bowl of Takes. Obviously UNT related. We've got the beautiful mean green game day helmet. So, take one. UNT will win every football game from here on out. Matthew, I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. No, but I support the dream. If you look at our team, our defense hasn't been the best, and our offense is starting to get going against La Tech. They got it going. Again, our defense still gave up almost 37 points, so that's still tough. But I don't think we're going to win every game. We'll win like maybe 4 or 5, hopefully. But that's just where I see it right now.
Yeah, there's no way we're winning the rest of our games. I mean, one, it's Tulane stands in our way, which I would bet $1 million that we lose against Tulane. And
I would love to see it, though.
I mean,
I would love to see it.
They started off the season ranked, so I feel like that's a no-brainer.
Exactly, and we're in the middle of what seems like to be a quarterback battle. With our defense as inconsistent as they has been, we're in the middle of a quarterback battle. Our offense, not sure what's going to become of that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Like, we just don't have the facilities for that yet.
No.
All right, number 2. Ross Hodge will be just as good or better than what Grant McCaslin was at UNT. Simeon, I'm going to start with you on this one. I think this one's a really good question.
Yeah, no, that is a very good question. I think it's too early to call on that. I mean, Ross Hodge, he was, of course, the mastermind of our defense with our basketball team. But, I mean, like, the guy he has to follow won 3 CUSA championships in 6 years and took us to the March Madness, where I think we beat Purdue in overtime and we're ranked 14th, our 14th seed, which is the highest UNT has ever been. So I say it's way too early. He has really big shoes to fill in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely got big shoes to fill. I agree, and I think I agree with you. It's too early to tell, right? I think we first 5-6 games in, we'll start seeing what he can do. But he's a defensive first mentality, and I think that can carry this team further. But I think when we saw him go to defensive, his team kind of struggled on offense. So we'll just see what happens this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the team was scrappy last year, and him being the mastermind of the defense, like we mentioned, if he can get into that transfer portal, pick up some more offensive pieces, I think he has the potential to be better than Grant McCaslin. I know that he has a lot to, get into, but we're in this new conference. If he does well in that conference, I think it'll go over well for him. We'll take a look at our third take. This one's also basketball related. The AAC named UNT basketball the sleeper team. This is unfair because the basketball program is already good. Matthew?
Yeah, I agree. I think the only reason they're doing this is because they have it for a new conference, right? With a sleeper with a new conference. So I think that in itself is the only reason they named us a sleeper for that. But if they looked at any previous records, it shows that we've been the best team in CUSA for the last 2 to 3 years. So I think that in itself shows that they got this completely wrong.
I actually kind of disagree.
Yeah,
I think that picking the sleeper team for us is actually fair on their part because we're going into a new conference. We lost our head coach. We lost our star player in Tyler Perry, who was just insanely good for us. So I think that us being the sleeper team is actually fair because we don't know what the future holds for us.
I'm kind of on Matt's side here. I just think that the best team in their conference last year was Houston. Second to that is Memphis. Houston's no longer in that conference. So we can really make some trouble as we enter this new conference. So I don't think we're a sleeper team. I think we're just a good program. All right. Ooh, soccer is the best program at UNT. Simeon, I'll start with you.
So that's an interesting one. I mean, soccer, that's where we win the most games. But as far as the best team here at UNT, I'd have to toss that over to basketball because you look at what people here follow the most. If you go out to the games where the most of our student body is, I mean, we got the UNT Mean Green Maniacs showing up loud and strong at every single basketball game. As far as the best team, record-wise, I would say yes. As far as the most important team to UNT, I would say our basketball.
Yeah, Matthew, before I get to your point, I want to add on to his because I think also if you look in terms of them after college, I'd have to agree that it's basketball. Soccer, purely college program, yes, but all the components that come into it, I would say no.
No, yeah, I agree with both of you. I think that's such a good point, too, that you made right there, Makenzie. I think look at it from a purely stats standpoint, you got soccer. Soccer has been one of the best programs in the school. However, in terms of following, like Simeon said, you have like at least 1,200, 1,300 students showing up for almost every basketball game. I hope we get those numbers for soccer going forward, but as of right now, I have to go basketball as well.
Yeah, I think those were all good takes right there. And as we may not have had the best takes, we're going to discuss some of the best players in the MLB right after this break.
Live from UNT, it's Wheel of Culture.
Welcome back to Wheel of Culture. Our contestant is so close to solving this puzzle. But first, it's time to give the wheel a spin. Wow, you landed on London, one of the many places where you and your fellow students can go on a chance to experience new culture. But only if you can solve this puzzle.
I'd like to solve the puzzle. Study abroad.
That's correct. You just won yourself a trip to study abroad in London, England, and you can too. Just go to studyabroad.unt.edu to see deadlines and apply for scholarships. Get ready to study abroad.
Hey man, are you okay in there? You look terrible. Have you been up all night? Don't you know that according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, staying up all night can have a negative effect on your GPA?
Sleep?
Yeah, go to bed.
Good evening and welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Makenzie Freeman, joined by Parker Smith and Steven Lucero as we discuss our MLB Awards as we're getting close to the postseason and it's almost that time for them to be crowned. So Parker, I'm going to start with you. Who are your MVPs for the AL and NL?
Yeah, so these MVP awards are already, pretty much locked up, as you could say. For the NL MVP, it's obviously for me, it's Ronald Acuna Jr. He's had an unbelievable year. 336 batting average, 143 runs with 40 home runs, and I think in a couple of days, hopefully 70 stolen bases. Right now it's at 68. But nobody's even ever had a 40-40 season, and then a 40-50, and then a 40-60. The list keeps going. He's having a really historic season as far as base running as well as hitting home runs. So, and then for the AL MVP, I want to go with Corey Seager, but I gotta give it to Shohei. 44 home runs, highest OPS in the league at 1.066, and then a 10-5 record as a pitcher. He's really the best thing since Babe Ruth as far as pitching and hitting. Really impressive stuff.
Steven?
Yeah, so you pretty much said it there. I do have the same, Shohei Ohtani and Ronald Acuna Jr. I do think the NL is a bit tighter. Mookie Betts is definitely in that. They've been neck and neck with pretty much all the statistics, but I think what sets Acuna apart is the stolen bases. Like he mentioned it, he's breaking records, weekly. So I think it is going to be Ronald Acuna in the NL.
Yeah, actually, I have Ronald Acuna Jr. as well, but I actually think Corey Seager has a chance of winning that MVP as well. He ranks all shortstop. He ranks number 1 in runs, RBIs, and OBP and slugging. And if he can keep that up going into playoffs, I think you have to go with him.
It's frustrating that he didn't get to play the whole season.
Exactly.
Yeah, if he would have, he would have given Ohtani a run for his money.
Absolutely. If he could stay healthy and there's no more shift, he's put it all together this season. Corey Seager has been a huge part for the Rangers and just for the whole league.
The next award we're going to go to is going to be the Cy Young. Steven, I'm going to go with you. Go ahead and give us your AL and NL.
All right, so Cy Young also, it seems pretty locked up at this point. I did go Garrett Cole in the AL and Blake Snell in the NL. Blake Snell, huge, kind of the runaway leader for ERA. He's really had an excellent season. And Garrett Cole, he's had a lot of good years, but I feel like there's always been just one person that's better. This year in, I think, probably a bit of a weaker competition in the American League, I think he does win it finally.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with him. Garrett Cole, 200 innings pitched. A super reliable guy, 2.75 ERA. Blake Snell, 2.25 ERA. That is extremely impressive. Both these guys have been dynamite for their team all season long, but I want to give a shout out to Spencer Strider in the NL. 274 strikeouts is really, really impressive. So shout out to him. But I still think, obviously, Garrett Cole and Blake Snell are probably the guys at that category.
Yeah, Blake Snell took my Cy Young Award as well for the NL. He ranks number 1 in ERA. And then, for strikeouts, he's number 2.
Yeah,
you're number 1
right
in
there.
ERA, number 2 in strikeouts. I think I have to give it to you there. And then my Cy Young is going to go to Felix Bautista. He has an ERA of 1.48. That's just really impressive. 33 saves. Just a really good player. Yeah. And then everyone loves talking about the rookies, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. Who are y'all going to give the Rookie of the Year award to? Parker, I'm going to go with you first.
Yeah, I'll take the NL. You can go ahead and do your NL. Obviously, Gunnar Henderson is the guy that everyone's going to mention, but me personally, being the fan that I am, I'm going to give it to Josh Young.
I have to agree. I love that pick.
He was injured for a little bit, but he's had an unbelievable season and just really, really strong in that 5-hole for the Rangers all season long. So, 271 batting average, 23 home runs, 70 RBIs. He's been dynamite as well. So.
Yeah, so for me, I agree. I think it is going to be Gunnar Henderson, unfortunately for me. But just Josh Young, I think is the most deserving. Just unfortunately, the injury slowed him down. Over to the NL, I think it's got to be Corbin Carroll.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
Just ran away with it. Ellie De La Cruz, coming in late, has done a great job. He's been an excellent player, but Corbin Carroll, he's running away with this award.
Literally running away with it.
Yeah, he is very good. 884 OPS. He's just an insane player. I also picked him for my NL Rookie of the Year, and I went with Josh Young as well. We're going to go over to the Manager of the Year, the player or the coach that leads this team. Steven, your pick?
Yeah, so for me, it's going to be Brandon Hyde for the American League. The Orioles have really outperformed all expectations this season. They're one of the best teams in the entire league, just minus the Braves. So to me, it's obvious there. In the NL, I went with David Bell. So a little bit different. I think the Reds, also it's just the they've just been so much better than anyone expected, outperforming all expectations. Young team, I think they have a bright future with him as manager.
Parker?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to hometown once more. I'm going to give it to Bruce Bochy for the AL. I mean, this is a team that missed the playoffs entirely last year, and if we can go ahead and beat the Angels tonight, which we should be able to, we locked up first place in the AL West over the Houston Astros, who won it all last year. So I think that's just a really impressive job by Bochy to come in and get these puppies organized. And for the NL, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Brian Snitker. The Braves are an absolute powerhouse. They've got fire at all positions, and he's done a really impressive job getting these guys to play the way they are.
Baseball players play on grass, but as we get into this next block, we're going to be discussing which is better in all sports, turf versus grass, coming up on this next segment.
It's that time of year where everyone plays a dangerous game with the flu. Going in uneducated, you run the risk of symptoms like cough, migraine, and fatigue. Don't be like this guy. Combat the flu with cough drops, ibuprofen, and a good night's sleep. Be smart, don't catch the flu.
And now we return to Fabric of Passion.
Oh, Hector, it will be so hard for us to part, but we must.
But, my love, what did I do? I thought we were meant to be together forever.
I am so disheartened to say that you're just not in style anymore. But you will be, to someone else, in a better place.
You're gonna shred me?
No.
I'm donating you to one of the many clothing donation boxes available on campus. There is one in the Union by the Syndicate and one on Union Circle Drive.
Oh, well, why didn't you just say so? I'm gonna be someone's new shirt.
I thought you'd be more distressed.
Oh, absolutely not. It was cramped in your closet anyways.
Maybe you would like to be shredded after all.
Good evening, welcome back to SportsZone. I'm joined by Mason Brennan and Austin Fernandez as we discuss the turf versus grass debate. Guys, there's been a lot of non-contact injuries related to this issue, which is why we're kind of talking about it here today. Mason, I want to know your thoughts first. Which is better, turf or grass?
Well, I would say that grass is better. I mean, it's one of the easier managed fields, I would say, because one of the things that matters with grass is the length, and it's also, if it's well maintained, it is better than it being long. So I would say, maintenance-wise, overall, I would say grass would be better for NFL.
Austin?
Me, I would say grass, obviously. No argument, just because look at the statistical data. There's just higher percentage of injuries. Study from 2012 to 2018, 28% higher on non-contact injuries in the lower extremity area, 32% higher on knee injuries, and then 69% higher non-contact foot ankle injuries. Now, given this is 2012 to 2018, that's still a 6-7 year time period in which there's a lot of injuries going on from non-contact injuries.
Yeah, and the NFLPA, they almost want to make the switch over to grass too, but the NFL is kind of hesitant on that. Why do y'all think that this is such a big issue, and why do you think they just won't go over to grass? Austin, I'll go with you.
I guess maybe why they wouldn't is because it costs more to maintenance. It's like quadruple the price to maintenance it over time. It does cost more to put artificial turf in at the time. But like I said, over the years, it costs a lot more. But, I mean, this is the player safety we're talking about, and so I just don't really see why you would question, making the switch expenses or not.
Yeah, Mason, your thoughts?
Well, one of the things that I actually found very interesting this past year was at the Super Bowl that was played in Glendale, they actually had some sort of like track system where they were able to roll in a grass field. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying you have to have some sort of system like that, but I think this is something that teams have planned out, and I think that the NFL should be concerned about having more grass fields.
I mean, yeah, I know a lot of players have mentioned how the divots in it cause their cleats to get stuck, and we're talking about long-term injuries here. We're not talking about the short-term injuries, like an ankle sprain takes you out 4 to 6 weeks. How important do you guys think this issue is? Mason, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, like you said, the long-term injuries are the ones that have been focused. And I mean, these aren't just, like you said, aren't just like short recovery times. These are injuries that are making players miss entire seasons. And if you're a fan of any sort of sports team, you never want to see a guy get hurt, especially a major injury. So seeing these players getting hurt and having a solution, but the NFL not really making any attempts to solve that problem, I think that is something that they need to look into.
Austin?
Yeah, I just think it's super crucial. I mean, like you said, like these are long-term injuries, you know, they're soft tissue. And not only does it take you out for a whole season, but you don't really come back the same player that you were. So now the exciting boom that we get from players, it's compromised.
And I know y'all have mentioned the cost. Mason, what were the cost prices that you found?
Well, one of the things that I found actually with the grass versus turf is that the base for grass is actually $150,000, where turf is $320,000. But like Austin said, the maintenance, it's what. I mean, you have $275 per square foot for grass, $20,000 for 10 years in maintenance, and overall a total of $570,000. So yes, grass is going to be more expensive, but I think this is an expense that the NFL should look into, because they have said that their number one concern is player safety. And whenever you have players trying to speak out about how to make the game safer, I think they should listen.
I mean, yeah, like Nick Bosa, he came out and talked about those injuries. Austin, I'm going to give this one to you. Who was the most heartbreaking injury that is directly related to this issue?
To me, heartbreaking. I just got OBJ in the Super Bowl, man. I mean, like, his entire career, fans, no matter what you are, even division rival fans, have been wanting to see his success because he was a stud in 2014 and throughout his career. And then all of a sudden he's playing in the Super Bowl, he caught a touchdown pass, and his knee just gave out from the turf. And that's just super, super heartbreaking from a player, especially OBJ's caliber, who's been speaking out about the grass versus turf situation.
Mason, your thoughts?
Well, mine would be a former teammate of OBJ and Cooper Kupp. I mean, 2021 was one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen from a wide receiver. And whenever Cooper Kupp came into 2022, we had even higher expectations for him. And, you know, whenever middle of the season, he had a high ankle sprain, and he's been out since November. And, I mean, this is something that Rams fans are still feeling the impact of to this day. And so mine would be Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Here on SportsZone, I think we all say as a collective that we're going to go with grass. That's going to be it for us today. Be sure to follow us on NTTV_sports on our socials, and we'll be with y'all next week.